Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early, 7 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, as you guys can see, I was in the middle of my workout. I was not planning on making this video. There's something that's been bothering me for the last couple of days. A story that's been in the news. And I just kept playing over and over in my head. And I want to know the whole story. I want to actually watch a video myself and determine what context, what the hell was this guy saying. Okay, who I'm talking? I'm talking about GOP House candidate Robert Regan, R-E-G-A-N. Okay, now you guys have probably seen he's been in the news over and over again. Him and about 5 other. It was a conservative Facebook chat, and it's been in the news a lot lately. And all the headlines talk about. Now, like I said, I am not defending this guy because he's talking about he should have never used. I'll get to the whole thing in a second. Okay, the headlines read, I would tell my daughters to lie back and enjoy it. Okay, I can't say more than that. Most of you people probably have already seen what I'm talking about. All right, so I went back and I watched the podcast. And what he's talking about, he's using his daughters as an analogy, which is messed up, which is so, I can't imagine using my mother or my sister and using them in some analogy, some violent, imaginative analogy. That's messed up right there to begin with. So I'm not excusing this guy by any means. And what he's actually saying, what his analogy is referring to, is just as troubling. All right. So he's talking about what he's actually saying. Is he's saying that one woman says, okay, it's already a year after the election, because they're still talking about decertifying that Donald Trump is the righteous winner, even though there's absolutely no voter fraud. There's been no evidence. Nobody's been arrested. No evidence. No nothing. The only people that are in trouble are like in Florida, where nursing home residents have been switched over from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party without them knowing. Or Republicans voting under themselves and their dead relatives' names. In other words, the only people that are getting arrested are Republicans, mostly for voting for Donald Trump twice. Okay, so this one woman says it's a year after the election, and this is where Robert Regan jumps in. And what he's saying here is he's not going to lie down and take it. And he says, this is like if I told my daughters to lie back and enjoy it in the case of this event happening to them. So it's kind of deceiving the way the media portrays it. I'll say that. I'm not defending this guy. And that does us a disservice, because in doing that, you're covering up what he's really talking about, which is he still wants to decertify, which is against the Constitution. There's no recourse whatsoever for decertifying the election. But this is where it gets interesting. So like I said, this is actually, he's using this as a messed up analogy for, that he wouldn't sit back and take, he's not going to sit back and take this election being stolen from Donald Trump, just like he wouldn't tell his daughters to lie back and enjoy it. So I'm like, wow, that's what he actually said, and it's still not cool. It's still bizarre. It's screwed up on a lot of levels. But what came next really showed the truth of what he was saying. His next analogy, he used Goliath, Samson and Goliath, the giant and the small guy. And he likened himself, the Republicans or the Trump campaign losing, to the small guy, and how they're going to slay the Goliath, this election being stolen. And just looking at that, what I see there, who's he referring to as being the giant? Surely not just the Democrat, or don't tell me the deep state. What I see when he says this, what he's saying is that the minority vote, the white minority vote, is more important. That we're gonna forget the vote, the will of the people, the majority of the people, the Goliath voting for Joe Biden. Forget that. We're going to continue fighting for the minority which is authoritarianism. That's what this is where we do ourselves a disservice. Honestly, it reminds me a little bit of the far right, talking about Pizzagate. Picking the worst possible thing, having to do with the most hideous crimes and blaming it on your opponent. And because it's kind of, like I said, I am not defending Robert Regan in any way. But the headline is deceiving. It is. But there's more important things that he's saying here. What he's getting at is authoritarianism. Is that it's not the quantity of the vote, it's the quality of the vote, in other words. That the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant vote, the minority of them matters more, is the righteous vote above the will of the people. True democracy. That's what he's actually saying here. And this is where we do ourselves a disservice. I'm guessing here the media thought I don't know, they must have done this on purpose and shown this as like, this guy's a sicko by saying this. And they don't mention anything about what he said next about the Samson and Goliath, which is very telling. It's very telling in the fact that he compares himself to the smaller guy and Biden winning to the Goliath, to the larger majority vote, the will of the people. And like I said, this is where we do ourselves a disservice. I think the media, or some people actually think that they really got him because they're going to just include this one little quote about him telling his daughters this. And it really is taken out of context. Because what he's saying here is, he's saying it's as if like I would tell my daughters this. He's not saying I told my daughters this. And it is deceiving. Like I said, I'll say it again, I am not defending this guy. But I think it's important that we realize what he is saying. He's saying that the will of the people doesn't matter. That democracy doesn't matter. That it's only certain votes that matter. That the Goliath, or the majority, the democracy, the majority of the vote, the will of the people should be taken down. And just certain votes should matter, the smaller minority votes. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. We did ourselves a disservice by just highlighting this appalling first quote about his daughters and not even mentioning the part about Samson and Goliath, which is very telling about his true intentions. In his heart, he knows, just by that analogy of Samson and Goliath, he's acknowledging that Trump had less votes. Right there. He's, like I say, I've known all. It's obvious all along. These people know that Trump lost the election. The one thing they bring up is, well, Trump had these huge rallies during the middle of a pandemic, gathering these super spreader events. And well, there's so many people at these big rallies, and Joe Biden just had 10 people when he came out of his basement. It reminds me of the flat earthers. Saying that, well, the sun looks like it's only 10 miles away, so it must be true. Or, the ocean looks like it goes on forever, so it goes on for infinity. That proves the land is flat. That's what this reminds me of when they use this as proof that Trump's rallies, that's proof that he won over Biden, because look at all the people. He must have won. No. It just shows that Trump supporters are fanatical and put Trump above everything and anything else, including their own health and their family's health. Anyway, I'll put the links to this all down below. Again, I am not defending this guy, Robert Regan. To the contrary, I think it's even more messed up, everything he was saying. He was using his daughters to make an analogy, a sick analogy. And the true point of what he was saying was anti-democracy, authoritarian. The links will be down below. You guys have a great Thursday.